Nothing went according to plan. Oh, hey, what is this called in Python, right? Who cares? That doesn't mean that someone can build something. It never has. I'm not meant to work this hard and to be sacrificing everything for this. And I know that's not something that a lot of people in my engineering community are gonna wanna hear. I just wanna see you guys feel empowered and have your own backs, okay? There's a lot of nuance missed in this conversation. Algorithms are bitches. Tech should be more lighthearted and fun, about curiosity and just trying things and breaking things. It was never about stupid like Silicon Valley shit and leak code. Yeah, that's gonna be something that will not die in 2026. It should probably be a wake-up call to the network engineering community. Again, everyone's gonna get mad at me. If you're against vibe coding, then you're gatekeeping coding. No, I am gatekeeping you outsourcing all of your knowledge to a company. Okay, that's what I'm gatekeeping. Don't be AI ignorant, but you get what I mean. I think that is a way that you can make yourself more marketable and compete. Taking a paint break to talk about my year in review. Hi, I'm Erica the Dev, or Erica Dietrich if we haven't already met. And in this video, I want to talk all about my personal highs and lows and kind of thoughts on this year of 2025. I also want to talk about some of the industry insights and trends that we saw this past year in tech, but particularly as they relate to code. And finally, I'm going to show you some just fun insights or like statistics and stuff from my channel and social media, bloopers, and all that good stuff. So stick around. And it needs some touch-ups, but this is what I'm painting as one of my Christmas presents for the C# lover, .NET lover in my life. So you've probably heard me talk a little bit about if you follow me on other platforms, particularly LinkedIn, you probably have heard a little bit of this already in terms of my personal journey, but nothing went according to plan. Nothing went as expected. Where to begin? So basically, we start 2025 and I am working my dream job, or my dream title at least, as a developer advocate at Cisco. And, basically by the beginning of this year, a lot had already happened in the prior year that had really colored what this year was going to become. A lot of it, honestly, was this huge conflict between coming off this amazingly strong 2024 where I got this dream title and I freaking ran with it. Like I accomplished so much. I really got my name out there. I gained a lot of momentum, and it just seemed like the opportunities were pouring in. And I don't even mean just in terms of like gaining followers or whatever, but just like people knew who I was, and I was getting these awards and people wanted to work with me, and it was amazing, right? It was like finally all of these blood, sweat, and tears that I've been putting into my work is like, it's paying off. I'm no longer invisible. That's great. At the same time, right, there's always a more negative side, I guess, or a shadow side to everything in life. It wasn't just a year full of highlights. And last year also happened to be a very, very hard year for me. And that's probably part of why I poured so much into work. But the gist of it is that, well, two things kind of colored what this year was going to become. The first was that I ended up having a pregnancy loss, pretty early on, but I had this loss. And to explain the impact that has on somebody is a little difficult, but essentially I had this giant epiphany about absolutely everything. It was like seeing complete clarity briefly, going through that experience. And I was just like, what am I doing? Like yes, I am like getting recognized finally for my work, and I'm getting to educate, I'm getting to learn new things, but I'm also working myself to death. I'm working like 12-hour or more days. I'm working every weekend. I'm traveling constantly. I'm tired. I'm not doing the things that I value, or like living a life that I guess supports the things that I value the most, right? As much fun as all of that was, I genuinely value things like love and community and creating things that are quality. I don't know. I didn't feel like me. I felt like I always had to be on, that I was putting on some sort of show. And I'm not, as much as I've had to hustle to get to this point where I'm at, I am not a huge fan of hustle culture. I entered my 30s and I just kind of like the little glimmer of what that promised had kind of faded by then. Maybe everyone goes through this at this age, I don't know, but for me, I just felt like hustling was not worth it. It was not getting me where I wanted to go. And that's a whole nother topic on, my career in tech. But regardless, I had that loss. And again, it gave me this intense clarity of, oh crap, like I love the impact I have. I love that I'm finally being recognized and seen for my work, but this is not where I'm not meant to work this hard and to be sacrificing everything for this. And the second kind of related, right, is that, just you go into things, especially if it's like your dream job or dream title, you go into things with so many expectations and things you want to get out of it. And, just to sum it up succinctly without sharing details, I was not getting what I wanted to out of the role. I just was not very happy. I didn't feel very recognized for what I was doing. Things felt like chaos where I worked. And again, I'll just keep it there, but it was just not going to go anywhere. And it was clear to me that my career was probably not going to progress there, despite everything I'd achieved, the impact I'd made, my willingness to like teach everyone else and share what I had done, my plethora of ideas. Again, it just wasn't going to happen. So anyway, I go into the beginning of 2025 and I am like ready to make a move, and I'm not really sure what that move is, but I'm like, something has got to give. I have to make a change. I'm scared to make a change because what if nobody follows me along for the ride after this entire public thing that I built? And I basically was stuck between being worked to absolute death in my job and also trying to deliver a couple of things that were really important to me, so that I could kind of go out on a bang, like on a high note for this role. Well, that kind of comes to a head in February. February is my first Cisco Live EMEA or Europe, and I was in Amsterdam. It was awesome. It was great to meet a bunch of you there. But when I say it about killed me, just between the workload that was put on me and the drama, and then the expectations I had for myself, right? Because again, I was trying to make something meaningful out of this job despite a lot of the chaos that I was experiencing and turmoil I was experiencing. But because of a variety of factors, it was not fully working out, and it was absolutely killing me. So I was so physically and mentally destroyed by the end of that conference. And I also didn't deliver what I'd hoped to deliver by that time, which was my learning to code using AI course for network engineers. Kind of like every tech company right now is big on AI, and, same with Cisco. And so I really tried to somehow incorporate AI into what I was doing so that I was meeting my, Okay, now my husband's talking really loudly on a meeting, so moving to the office nursery. I think I was just saying that I wasn't able to deliver this course that incorporated the AI that was basically required for my job. It was, you have to follow what you are asked to do, but was still delivering the value that I felt like was needed in the community, which again, to me, from the countless conversations that I had with network engineers who were our primary audience, and that was that a lot of them just still struggled to know how to code and learn how to automate. It's not that they needed help with specific tools or knowing Cisco APIs or this or that. I mean, the majority of people that I knew were just struggling to learn how to actually code and how to build something meaningful, or dealing with imposter syndrome, not feeling like they had the resources they need to learn it in a network engineering specific context. The list goes on, right? But essentially it was kind of this light bulb moment of, this is what the community really needs, is they still need to learn how to code. Like that's understandable, right? It's a big ask. So I had made the promise for this course, and, I had visions of it from the beginning. I was very, very excited about how I was going to teach people to do this and the things that we were going to achieve through this course. But again, not only was it a big undertaking, but I didn't feel like I had the support to do it. And so, I end up having to propose basically the outline and the idea and the tentative timeline at this Cisco Live. But again, I left that Cisco Live just completely spiritually destroyed. I don't know how I didn't quit in the middle of that Cisco live. I got a lot of negative feedback about my being a team player through that conference, even though I tried to warn them that the things being asked were entirely unreasonable. I also was hoping that maybe I would just like get laid off. Like, I knew that this was not going to be a permanent thing for me, but layoffs were happening so often at Cisco that I thought, well, maybe I'll just get lucky and I'll be on the chopping block. So I stick around for a little bit after Cisco Live, Amsterdam, but I just, close but no cigar, right? The axe came a-swinging at our department multiple times, but it missed me. So I hated just flat out quitting, but I was extremely burned out, and I wanted to pursue the things that mattered to me most now. And also these things that I just really excelled at in the role, I just wanted to do them for real. I didn't want to be held back. I didn't want to be criticized. I didn't want to go through a bunch of red tape, and I wanted to do something that was meaningful. I did not, it was not according to plan to just straight up quit, but that is what happened. That is what happened. And so, I quit, and, I thought, okay, now I'm going to hardcore launch this business, right? I announced online that, I'm going to be doing content creation now, right? I'm planning on doing things like that coding course that I had hoped to deliver. But also, I plan to provide all that content for free. And so I had a money-making aspect to what I was going to do. And I said, hey, I'm open now to sponsored posts. I can do technical blogs and videos. And I kind of put out there a few things that I could excel at and was willing to get paid for. And got all these immediate hits, right? And that was great. But I had been through so many things recently that I had never been through before. I had never, previously the prior year, like actually been, recognized for the stuff I do. I'd never lost a pregnancy. I've never had such a response to a business idea I've had. This is not my first business. So that was a shock. And I also found that I had never been probably as burned out as I was then. I've always been able to find a way to push through it, and it wasn't the case. I was severely burned out. I had to kind of play around with trying to respond to people's LinkedIn messages with scope of work and pricing packages and timelines, but on the inside, I was just struggling to keep up. So it's about a month that I take off doing just the absolute bare minimum content-wise and messaging-wise to make sure I can have a business. I'm still burned out when I start, but basically I'm kind of like, hey, if I don't capitalize on this momentum now, it ain't gonna work. Adding to the list of unexpected things is that unexpectedly, again, this business took off. Unexpectedly, in the first month, or by the second month, I was making 2/3 of my old Cisco salary. So wow, awesome. I've never had a business be this successful off the bat. This is nice for once. But also unexpected was that I got pregnant. That was part of quitting too. Part of quitting the job too, right, is knowing that I wanted to have a family, but that I just don't think that the tech industry, at least in roles that I've been in a variety of roles, I don't think the tech industry supports family. I don't think it supports good enough health to conceive, to carry a child. I just don't think there's support, period. And I know that there's leave, and that's great, but I don't know. It wasn't for me. So I was like, hey, I'll build this business around the life that I want to have. I got pregnant, and it was, sooner than I thought I would, but great. This is fantastic news. I was so happy about it. But unexpected, again, was the fact that it was going to become almost immediately very difficult to run my business from then on out. I learned just how difficult pregnancy is, or at least can be, for people. I did not expect to struggle as much physically and emotionally as I did this year. So that was, a little over half of the year. This year was being pregnant. I didn't expect to finally make the decision that I needed to stop taking clients, because this is what I wanted, right? I wanted to build an empire. I wanted to have agency and autonomy over what I do. I have a lot of visions. I'm a very ambitious person, and I'm also a workaholic. So to decide that I was not going to make money anymore, both from an ambition side of things and from a depending on my spouse side of things, which I'd never done, always been a breadwinner my whole adult life, whatever. That was really, really hard. That shook things up for me internally a lot. I did not expect to spend so much of my pregnancy alone. So I eventually, I stopped taking clients, I take a little break, and then I get back into content creation. This is back when I start finishing the coding course for network engineers that I hoped I would finish in February. I'm pregnant and it's a little more difficult, but it's definitely doable to do at this point in my pregnancy in the second trimester. But then my husband, he suddenly had a significant increase in his workload and in his work travel, where I was alone like almost all the time for basically the entire second trimester for about 3 months. I did not realize not only that I would be alone that much, but how difficult it would be to do things alone while pregnant. So, some days were just hard to get through the day. Like some days it was just hard to feed myself and take care of my dogs and do whatever. There were a lot of other mental and physical challenges, obviously, during pregnancy, and I really didn't expect any of it because I don't think we really talk honestly about pregnancy in our culture. Maybe everywhere, I don't know. I haven't been everywhere. But it was crazy challenging. And, I was trying to do these videos with a little bit of energy I had between trying to manage the entire home and take care of myself and prepare for baby dev, which another unexpected thing is how much freaking prep you have to do for a baby. Like, I'm sure some of it's me being anal, but like still kind of crazy. And basically I start ending the second trimester, start going into the third trimester, right? And I'm still working on this coding course. And I'm like, I will be damned if I do not finish this course by the end of the year. Like, it will have taken me all year long. And again, I know we talk about being forgiving and these things happen and blah, blah, blah. But in Erica world, before Erica was pregnant and like had hit severe burnout at Cisco and stuff, Erica always found a way to get things done. Even if it was a little bit late, like I was there to razzle dazzle, impress. I always work hard. And this was like, wow, I, had went on all these podcast appearances even earlier this year, being like, oh, look at my coding course. And, here I was November, December, still trying to get it done. So it was definitely a little bit of a hit to my ego. On the positive side of things, right? Ending out this year, because December when I'm recording this now. Positive, unexpected things, though, that really came about from this is that, first of all, I'm much more capable than I realize. And I also was able to push back against my perfectionism. I have a clear vision for the way I would like coding and a lot of things in tech to be taught. But realistically, I'm only one person. I only have so much budget. Now I'm pregnant, and I did not think it would be possible for me to deliver lower quality things because I don't enjoy that. And I did. I found a way to do something I found acceptable enough that was lower quality, that was possible, and I still pumped out and got that course done even as I became heavily pregnant. So that was unexpected, but really great. It gave me a lot of confidence and a lot of pride that I finally got that out. I got a lot of good feedback. I think I've gotten a lot of, I don't know if scrutiny is the right word, but people being like, why are you doing it this way? Or, just kind of like waiting to see where this goes. I also, I didn't get to continue making big buku bucks. Like, I wanted to continue crushing my old salary because, why not? That seems like a great first goal and that's very validating. And I did not get to do that. But I think a misconception that other people had of me when I told them that I became pregnant was that kind of things were going to come to a standstill. Like I was probably not going to achieve anything else. And it definitely slowed down. That is for sure. I definitely did not achieve everything that I thought I would achieve in my first year flying solo. But I did achieve a lot of things in content creation beyond even just finishing that coding course. And I'll talk about that a little bit at the end with my statistics. But that was a pleasant surprise, is that am I working to the pace that I thought I would previously? No, I definitely slowed down. Like pregnancy definitely does impact things. But does that mean that you don't still make an impact? or that you just stop moving. No, it doesn't. I've been surprised by who has kind of shown up to support and be a part of this movement since I quit Cisco. Like, I've been really heartwarmed, I think, by the number of people who really want this free education to be out there and really want people, in this case, network engineers, to learn how to code, right? People who agree with my philosophy that tech should be more lighthearted and fun. It's about curiosity and just trying things and breaking things. It was never about stupid, like, Silicon Valley shit and leak code and, I don't know, like, one-upping each other, like, all that bullshit. None of that, I've kind of rallied against that the whole time, and it was surprising to know how many people would stand by my side when I left to try to help me deliver this mission. And I just want to say thank you. If you're one of those people watching this and you support my content, or you've offered to help in some way with this course going forward, or just anything, like, I genuinely really appreciate you. Obviously, too, it was surprising the number of people that I thought were close allies who either dropped me once I no longer had Cisco as part of the name, or who dropped me once I became pregnant and wrote me off as a mom. That was a hard lesson. That was definitely a hard lesson. I guess it's better to know the truth of who's by your side is kind of how I've come to accept that. And I have finally accepted this fall from notoriety since my amazing, outstanding year at Cisco last year. And I'm like, okay, I am squarely here. I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. I have a vision forward, and it's going to be fine. I feel really content with it. I guess the final thing I'll say about my personal year is that I never expected just how much this year was going to transform me. And maybe from the outside, if you follow me on social media, it looked like I was like having some sort of like mental breakdown half the time. But really, I think truly what was happening was a huge transformation. A transformation in terms of upgrading my brain, right? Upgrading my brain and body to motherhood, changing the course of my life to be more in line with my values, testing, doing things against my fears, right? Like, just kind of putting out in the open that I'm doing a business, and like doing this coding course out in the open when everybody wants to tell you that you're not a real engineer, or just criticize your intelligence or knowledge. I did a lot to put myself out there and take risks this year, and it resulted in a lot of transformation that was at times felt almost unbearable to hack, but I am very, very proud that I'm still coming out on the other side of this transformation. And I can give you a little preview of the baby dev nursery. So this is the view from my desk. I've just got all of her, baby toys and things set up right now. This is not where it will all stay, but thanks to everybody who, helped get things off our registry. I did not know I was going to need any of this crap. It was just things that I had to Google or learn from Instagram or my pregnancy planner. We've got our little bassinet here. Nice little diaper changing station, pretty cute, apparently necessary. Babies poop. And it's a little bit covered up in junk right now, but a chair for feedings. Okay, and I think that he finally is done talking, so I'm gonna go back out there where it's comfy on the couch. Okay, one of the great things about being pregnant is my husband gives me amazing food whenever he gets a chance. Love it. So now I'm motivated to get this video done so that I can eat. I'll just set us up right here. So switching gears now, let's talk a little bit about what we saw in the industry this past year. I am not gonna Google and AI summary last year for you. You can do that on your own if you just want news articles, whatever, milestone events. I want to talk about things that I noticed from my personal perspective as a practitioner and as an educator. And I'll put timestamps in here in case you only care about certain events. But I'd say that the first thing that I noticed is the constant battle between, what is vibe coding, and do we need people who know how to code anymore? And basically that whole conversation, right? I don't need to sum that up for you. If you existed online, you unfortunately were subjected to that. What I have noticed though is that we are going to have to completely change the way that we do coding education and how we assess people for hiring interviews when it comes to coding, because anybody can generate code, anybody can prompt. We're going to have to completely revamp the way we're doing that. That's part of why I'm doing this coding course for network engineers. It's eventually going to come with an assessment guide, but it's very clear that it's going to be a lot harder to prove that people actually know what they're doing. And by that, I mean know how to think, right? And this has always been a problem in at least the software engineering industry. I mean, we've always interviewed people and done homework assignments that made no sense. Like, that's not new. The difference is that now people can bullshit their way through those things. And so now we really have to start caring about assessing people properly. Now, there's a lot of debate about how that's actually going to happen. How can we actually assess critical thinking skills? I do think it's going to have to come down more to less memorizing and just less crystallized knowledge checks. Like, oh, hey, what is this called in Python, right? Who cares? That doesn't mean that someone can build something. It never has. I think we're going to really have to start having like conversations. We're really going to have to start having conversations where you're able to see people's thought process about things, and you're able to see their critical thinking ability, their creativity, their ability, what they have solved in the past and how they're able to apply that to current problems. Those are things that cannot be replaced by AI or fooled as easily through use of AI. And truthfully, these are the kinds of things we should have always been using to assess candidates, especially when it comes to like entry-level candidates. Like, why the crap are we doing data structures interviews? I don't know. I don't understand it. I think it's a really poor way to bring talent into the industry. But again, that's change number one that I noticed is because of this whole vibe coding crap. We are going to have to change how we assess whether or not someone knows what they're doing. But the flip side of the vibe coding conversation was that we do not need to learn how to code anymore. And this could be applied to other skills too, right? People think that you don't need to learn a lot of different skills now that you can just prompt AI. It does not help that there are so many voices online, including influential voices, like the CEOs of companies or influencers who also happen to be developers or have a developer background, who are throwing all this information out there about how it's no longer important to know how to code. And I think that there's a lot of nuance missed in this conversation, right? Like a lot of nuance missed in this conversation. So I'll try my best to highlight or sum up what I think that nuance is in this. The first is that no, vibe coding does not replace knowing how to code. Top reasons I can think of: A, vibe coding, it's going to be really good at solving certain types of problems or problems it sees all the time. It's going to, completely fudge things up the rest of the time. Two, if you don't know what you are doing when you code, you're not going to know how to vibe code something properly, leading to scalability issues, leading to security issues, could lead to actual just like functionality, having the app run issues. You're not going to know how to troubleshoot anything, etc. Number three is that companies are not going to want to hire vibe coders. They're just not. Like, even if the job ends up being mostly prompt engineering, they're going to want to hire people who know how to code, right? That just makes sense. Number four is that you're really outsourcing all of your skills and knowledge to these AI companies when you decide that you're just going to be a vibe coder, right? So I've mentioned this in a previous video before, but we don't just learn to code to get a job. It's a way to make us self-sufficient within the society. You learn how to code and you can solve any problem you set your mind to, and no one can take that away from you. The language, the most popular language out might change. Certain features of languages or libraries might change. Technology around coding and supporting applications might change, but no one can take that skill away from you. And those are just a few of the reasons off the top of my head, but it's going to be very difficult to make people understand who do not know how to code, whether you do network automation, you're an application developer, a computer science student, whatever. It's going to be very difficult to explain to people who don't know what they're doing that vibe coding is not a replacement. And it's just going to be a losing battle. It just is. People typically don't seem to have the ability to listen to other people who have expertise, to put themselves in other people's shoes, to see things from a more nuanced, comprehensive point of view. And, I could look into any other random industry and be like, oh yeah, well, I can just use AI to replace that now. And to the average amateur person, then, it probably seems like you could. But if you talk to most professionals in their industry, AI does not just replace what you're doing. Even like, illustrators, you'd think that like image generation would be something that like really kills certain artist careers or illustrators careers. And they're able to showcase why that is wrong, right? If you kind of follow some of their conversations online, just how missing the mark AI is when it comes to AI generation or to image generation. It's going to be one of those things where it's going to be a really uphill battle for us to convince people that it's still worth learning the skill. It's going to be an uphill battle to convince people that vibe coding is not the same as knowing everything that comes along with coding, which is not just coding, right? Whether we're talking about software engineering or we're talking about network automation, there's way more to it than just writing some code. Yeah, that's going to be something that will not die in 2026. We're going to keep hearing those conversations and keep having that debate. And I think we're going to have to find a way to better exemplify why this is a problem. And I think that as part of that, we also need to go back to differentiating between vibe coders and people who code with AI. I do not know why the original definition of vibe coding has become lost and it's become some sort of controversial thing. Like, if you're against vibe coding, then you're gatekeeping coding. No, I am gatekeeping you outsourcing all of your knowledge to a company. Okay, that's what I'm gatekeeping. Anyone who codes, for the most part, is going to be using AI for something, for some part of the process. It's just how it's going to be. So we can just kind of make an assumption there that AI for coding is here to stay. That is very different from vibe coding. Vibe coding is where you like just kind of prompt away until something works, right? Prompt away without understanding how the code works. As long as it runs, you're good. No, that is not the same thing as coding with AI. So let's go back to making that distinction next year and having those conversations. The third industry trend I noticed where I'm at, because I know that my audience is a little unique in that I kind of sit between developer world and network engineering, at least right now. Something that I noticed when I was trying to teach automation at Cisco DevNet was that not only did a lot of people still not know how to code, but there was also kind of a lack of interest. And it was also not clear to me, was there actually a demand? Like, yeah, we're pushing this on people and we want people to learn these skills and we can tout the benefits. But do companies actually want people who know network automation or know how to code? And again, because I sit more squarely in developer world, I wasn't entirely sure. I had my guesses about things, but I had a number of conversations this year with people who felt that because AI was now on the scene, that they were falling multiple steps behind of technology trends and skills by not knowing how to code, right? Because knowing how to code is, I don't know if you'd say a precursor to AI, but there's a lot of reasons that you would feel that way. I also had some very specific conversations, like Andy Laptev, who's, real big in the network engineering community. He shared a very personal story at AutoCon this year and on other platforms about his, I think it was like 7 or 9 months, I can't remember how long, 7 to 9 month search for a network engineering job. He has a ton of experience, right? He's been in the industry a while. And he could not get hired because every single person was looking for someone who knew automation or how to code at a certain level or whatever. So that was a little bit of validation to me about what I'm doing, right, with my coding course for network engineers. And I think that it should probably be a wake-up call to the network engineering community that, you do not need to love coding or love AI or any of these things. But just like with every other technology role, you are going to be pressured and you're going to start really, really being squeezed to know other things. Again, I don't think that it's fair that network engineers need to have so many other adjacent skills in order to do a one-hat job. But to be totally transparent, every engineering job I've had so far where I've kind of moved around places, they've all required absolutely ludicrous numbers of skills. We're having this problem in the industry where it's only possible to truly gain expertise in an area or two, at least without a bunch of time. But these companies and these jobs we take on, they want us to know kind of a little bit of everything. And it's not very realistic. It's also not particularly enjoyable, I think, for a lot of people to wear that many hats or to have to skill up on that many things. But it is the reality of the industry right now. So just want to throw that out there to my network engineering audience that, I do not work for Cisco. My courses are free. I don't have a real reason to scare you into believing that automation is like, oh my gosh, do it or you won't have a job. This is just what I'm hearing from people in the community, people online, personal conversations I've had, right? This is just some data points for you to consider. On that note, I think there's a lot of people who can teach network automation and obviously go do that. Like, go learn it wherever you can. If you're somebody who's following my course and the videos I'm putting out on YouTube, my only ask would be to give feedback and ask questions as much as possible, because I think that I have a unique angle to how I'm teaching this. I am highly, highly, highly trying to focus on cutting out all the BS, all the theory, giving you exactly the practical stuff that you need to know to get up and running. I'm getting you started with AI early on and helping that accelerate the speed of your learning. I've got a lot of cool things planned next year with other network engineers and related folks to make it very relevant to you. But again, that being said, we need to figure out a way to get this right. We do not, I think if we had a really, really great resource on coding for network engineers right now, that more network engineers would probably know how to code, or would at least feel comfortable reading a script. I think that's on us. And I'm here to take the challenge. And so hopefully you'll take me up on that and help me create something great for you guys, especially that's free. The next industry trend that I personally experienced was that I think that the job market is changing drastically in terms of how hiring is going, how people are getting hired. And I noticed this through my personal experience of being very visible in public online, right? And I constantly mentor people online and in person, but more so online. And I'll have people ask for advice. I'll have people ask for job referrals, yada, yada, yada. And what I'm finding is that, hiring is broken, right? I don't really need to tell you that, but hiring is broken. And it seems to me like hiring processes are going to take significantly longer and be much more unpredictable than they were in the past, regardless of what experience or skills you bring to the table. I think that there is going to be a pressure to be some sort of AI expert, even though that's not how that works. Whatever that means for your role, or however they would interpret an AI expert for your role, there's going to be that expectation that you have that. But I think most importantly, I really think that having an online presence is going to be everything. So in marketing, we have these terms called like inbound and outbound marketing. Inbound marketing would be like, oh, hey, people come visit our website because we just post this really useful blog article. Outbound marketing would be like, oh, hey, I found the contact information for these 10 CEOs and now I'm going to go cold message them on LinkedIn. I'm not telling you to not cold message people or do outbound, but I really think that because there's just so much noise out there. There's bots doing applications for people. Someone posts something on LinkedIn and 1,000 people will apply. It's been my experience that people who really guarantee their success and their spot in whatever career they want to have is that they are visible online. And I know that's not something that a lot of people in my engineering community are going to want to hear, but I think that not all of you have to be like me. You don't have to be smiley, bubbly, ha 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 ha, entertaining, none of that. A great example that I like to share all the time is someone online, I think his handle's like Data Bunny. And, I've never talked to this dude personally, nothing like that, but I kind of watched his evolution online because it started last year. He was a student and he wanted to get hired as a network engineer. And he would literally post probably every day, if not every day, multiple times per week. And it would literally be a simple photo of like his screen or his lab and like one sentence of, today I learned about blah, blah, blah. Like, he didn't even say what he learned about it or like demo anything. It was just like, I don't know. Today I learned how to create VLANs. I don't know. And the reception to that was huge. He got a lot of support because people bought into the journey, wanted to support his journey, respected the work he was putting in. He gained a ton of followers. He ended up landing, I believe, again, this is just my recollection, but he ended up landing a network engineering job immediately out of college. And he also has these huge followings now. Like, he has no issues, at least from the outside, it seems, in finding work. And not only that, but his presence online was more about like his technical journey and growing expertise. It wasn't about like becoming an influencer. So that's something that I want you to keep in mind is, even if it doesn't come naturally to you, just for your sake, just for securing your own future, for giving you power, for giving you options, I really want you to consider, can you be visible online somehow? Even if it's in a way that you're more comfortable with, like, can you have a technical blog? Can you post just once a month about something that you did that month or something that you learned? Next trend, and this is not really a new trend, but it's something that has continued and something that I think is going to be a little harder to predict how it will turn out, at least in the United States, because we have a new administration doing what they're doing. But I do think that we're going to continue to see globalization of the workforce, right? And just being honest here, every place that I have talked to, worked at, whatever, has been looking at doing things for cheaper, right? And now that people can work from anywhere, it's just a lot easier to hire people who are outside of the United States or maybe other higher income or whatever, higher paid, salaried people from other countries. I don't see that discontinuing unless like the current administration's laws or something somehow make that undesirable or more undesirable. And I know that that's sort of a depressing thing where you're like, well, what am I supposed to do about that? There's two thoughts I have to that. One is that I think you can improve your odds of competing with the situation by either being open to some contract or freelance work. Like, I'm a big fan of having a business on the side, even if you're a salaried worker. I think that's the future of hiring. I think that companies don't want to pay for benefits and insurance and all that stuff. I think that is a way that you can make yourself more marketable and compete. The second option is, I do think that there will be some pressure for some people to move, to relocate, either to relocate to lower cost of living areas within the United States. And again, now that we can live and work from anywhere, or to even relocate to other countries with lower cost of living. I know that's kind of a hot topic, controversial thing to say in the United States. You know, we're not really big on leaving the United States, but I just want to throw it out there that I think it's not going away anytime soon. So I think that you should think about ways to compete, have some skin in the game by, again, having multiple streams of income or having this contractor side thing, or maybe you just are a contractor, or by thinking about, I don't know, potential relocation in some form. If nothing else, if you don't want to make any changes and you want to continue having a salary, I would at least highly, highly, highly recommend protecting yourself. Protect yourself and your reputation. Again, be sharing what you're doing online, publicly. Don't let it live and die within a company that's going to lay you off 3 months later. Be careful about blowing money. Again, the layoffs are still rampant. I don't think we're in the clear, and just protect yourself, right? This is not 2020 or whatever, like the last recent boom where people were just getting hired left and right and you could spend your money however. I just want to see you guys feel empowered and have your own backs, okay? We had a lot of debate around what is the best AI coding assistant or the best LLM to use for various tasks. Had a lot of people kind of publicly shit on GitHub Copilot, which is what I teach in this coding course. Guys, I'm gonna just put that right up there with the other AI discourse right now. And again, I am going to tell you that as long as the LLM you are using has been trained to fulfill this purpose, to code, I think it's a little bit personal preference at this point. Again, everyone's gonna get mad at me and like come at me with the benchmarks and statistics in the comments, like that's fine, whatever. But I just want to reassure you that that debate is probably gonna rage on in 2026, and that, you know, at some point it probably does matter for you to choose some sort of optimal model. I'm sure things will continue to shake out, you know, between the competition, between the models. I don't think it matters that much. I feel like I could go on and on with some things that I've noticed in trends, but those were definitely the biggest conversations that I was privy to and asked about and whatever. So I'm going to move on to a few predictions. First prediction is I think that we are going to have more entrepreneurs in 2026, whether that means that you're a freelance worker or you actually have started some other sort of service or product business. It's necessitated by the job market. And I think also with AI, a positive of AI is more people are empowered to be one man, woman, or whoever show businesses. It certainly helped me as a pregnant expecting mother. And I think that even beyond securing our own financial future, there's kind of a need to create more competition within the market, to create more job opportunities outside of these giant conglomerates. And I think more people than ever are feeling fired up about doing it. And I hope to cheer some of you on who are taking that path. My second prediction is that 2026 is the year that we have the biggest push to date to learn coding for network automation, that coding is seen as absolutely essential to IT and network engineering. Whether or not it actually gets used or it's being implemented in the company properly, that's a different story, but it's going to be hard to not feel that push, I think. And of course, with that will come a pressure to learn AI and use that as part of the job. But I think that, given all the fear that surrounded implementing automation and automating a production network, I think that AI is going to come with even more fear than automation. So we're probably going to start at the automation level. Not much else to say about that. Third prediction is I think there's going to be some major security breaches in 2026 due to the use of vibe coding. I think that there's going to be entire startups that were vibe coded from the ground up, who make a bunch of money, get a bunch of users, and something very, very bad is going to happen. And I think it's also going to get more and more difficult to know whether or not the company you're working for actually knows what they're doing with their product versus, again, just vibe coded it. And as difficult as it is to get a job right now in tech, as kind of any form of engineer, or at least a lot of forms of engineering, I do think there's going to be a demand for people who know how to code and who are able to come in and step up and fix this crap. We're already seeing it a little bit. Next prediction is I think the AI noise is going to continue to grow. It's going to become really loud. It's going to scare people. It's going to confuse people. And I still don't think that we're going to replace anybody. Sorry, I don't. Next, I think that becoming a content creator and standing out online is going to become harder and harder and harder as time goes on. Again, I'm already experiencing that a little bit. Because, I, for instance, joined YouTube much later than YouTube was founded, whatever. There is a lot of competition out there. It is harder to get seen. Algorithms are bitches. There's going to be this need to be seen online, again, for personal branding purposes, for finding a job, getting your work noticed. But it's also just, I think there's going to be less viral moments. It's going to be harder to become this viral, everybody knows me kind of creator. And on top of that, I think that social media is going to continue to get extremely salesy and business oriented and AI slop and blah. Oh my gosh, social media became so much less fun this year, if that was possible, if that was even possible, right? It became so much less valuable and less fun. And I think we will really struggle with that in 2026. I think there's still going to be all that noise. But I think that people will still find ways to stand out by being authentic and being themselves. I'm a big fan of sharing personal journeys, the ups and the downs, being a real person. Not oversharing, just being, real. Yeah, I think that's going to be necessary to distinguish yourself from the bots. Next prediction is that everybody's going to continue to lose their heads over becoming an AI expert, AI engineer, whatever. But I think that the real, I don't know if you want to say money, but the real gold mine is in cybersecurity. I think cybersecurity is becoming ever more important, but it's just more intimidating, or maybe it's getting a little less buzz. It's getting buzz, but I think it's not as freaked out over as AI is. And I think that you should not sleep on cybersecurity. I think if you're looking to upskill into some of these new hot buzzworthy skills, I think you should consider cybersecurity and not the AI nonsense rabbit hole. Don't be AI ignorant, but you get what I mean. All right, and now for some fun overall stats and pictures of my year, particularly as a content creator that I think you'll just enjoy. So enjoy. That's my 2025 year in review. Thanks so much for watching along. I hope you gained something from this. What did you accomplish in 2025 that you're really proud of? Or did your plans also go out the window like mine? Did something really unexpected happen and change your course? Let me know down in the comments. And I'm really excited for 2026 with you guys. We've got baby dev coming. We've got more coding courses coming out. More changing the face of tech and approaching tech as technologist, and just so much going on. I have so many ideas. Thank you for being here. Thanks for your support, your curiosity, your feedback, and I will see you in the new year. Take care.